Stick with me today. I'm going to connect a lot of dots. We're going to start with my grandmother, then we're going to talk about Caitlin Clark, and then we're going to talk about the cult-like religion that is destroying America. It's going to be an awesome episode of Fearless. Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I'm Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining me. Awesome show planned for you today. We will not have Tennessee Harmony today. We'll likely release tomorrow a special long version of Tennessee Harmony, or with the Tennessee Harmony crew. A very fascinating discussion we had about J.D. Vance and cat ladies and usury. It's an amazing discussion. Anthony, Virgil, TJ Moe, Kevin Donahue, and myself will probably release that tomorrow. But today, I have a topic that's going to take me some time to unpack, that's very important to me, that's very important to what's going on in American culture. It's going to be very provocative, very powerful, perhaps a bit triggering. But if you've been following this show, it's inevitable where I had to go today and where this show has been going. So we want to start by thanking our great friends at Good Ranchers for supporting us and allowing me to do this. Use my promo code FEARLESS at goodranchers.com, and with your subscription, you can claim $25 off your first box, free express shipping, and a free add-on for 4 years. Choose from chicken breast, Angus ground beef, applewood bacon, or wild-caught salmon. Thank you, Good Ranchers, and make sure you guys are supporting Good Ranchers, because Good Ranchers is why I can do fire starters like this. And kick back, this is going to take me some time. Hopefully, I'll have time to bring Shamika Michelle into this conversation, but I'm not sure how long this is going to take me to unpack. I think what's very important, I need you all to send today's show to your friends, to your family, to your critics, people you disagree with, like-minded people. Share it with your minister, share it wherever you can, and have a discussion about it. I'm not asking you to agree with everything that I'm going to unpack here, but everything that I'm going to unpack here will be accurate, and it should be considered. So anyway, let's get to the fire starter. Let's get to a fantastic show. Nearly 100 years ago, the KKK stormed my great-grandfather's home in Kentucky, dragged him out of his house, beat him, and carried him to a lynching tree. My grandmother, Lovey Kennedy, witnessed the assault. A small child, she screamed and wept uncontrollably. Her daddy was being executed right before her eyes. Unbeknownst to her and the executioners, her father was a Freemason. Standing at the tree with a noose being prepared for his neck, my great-grandfather made some sort of hand or posture gesture that could only be understood by a fellow Mason. Lucky for him, one of the Klansmen was a Mason and objected to his killing. Spared his life, my great-grandfather and his family fled Kentucky for Indianapolis. For years, my grandmother had an intense fear of and hatred for white people. According to her frequent retelling of the story, the fear and hatred fled her mind and soul the moment she accepted Jesus Christ as her Lord and Savior. Everyone called her Mama Lovey. The last 5 decades of her life, she emoted love and positive energy. She dedicated her life to spreading the good news and the Gospels, serving 25th Street Baptist Church, and making sure her grandkids had a relationship with Jesus Christ. I think about Mama Lovey frequently. She passed away 25 years ago. In her final years, she suffered Alzheimer's disease. Eventually, the only words she could speak coherently were scripture. She could recite her favorite verses, and she had hundreds, verbatim, and tell you where they appeared in the Bible. No one has had more influence on my life than Mama Lovey. Her memory is a blessing and a curse for me. It's a reminder of the way things were, the way Black women used to represent themselves and define their identity by their faith rather than their politics. I thought about Mama Lovey this morning when I reflected on basketball legend Sheryl Swoopes' intense animus toward WNBA star Caitlin Clark. Earlier this year, when Clark was shattering college basketball records at Iowa, Swoopes trashed Clark as an overhyped gimmick. She claimed Clark was age 25, played 5 or 6 seasons at Iowa, and shot the ball 40 times per game. It was all bad, uninformed information. When questioned whether her comments were motivated by bigotry, Swoopes claimed Black people can't be racist and that she has white friends. Take a listen.
For people to come at me and say that I made those comments because I'm a racist, like, first of all, Black people can't be racist, but like, that's the farthest thing from my mind. Like, I grew up in a very small West Texas town, predominantly white. My best childhood friend is white, went to predominantly white. College, won a national championship, pretty much everyone on the team was white. Like, we're sisters to this day. Like that's not a part of my DNA.
Like, that's not part of her DNA. That was Sheryl Swoopes back in February when Caitlin Clark was a superstar at Iowa University and taking college basketball by storm and elevating college athletics, women's college basketball, to unprecedented heights. That's what Sheryl Swoopes was saying in February. Now, this week, with the WNBA on a month-long Olympics hiatus, Swoopes has returned to her Caitlin Clark bashing. Clark is the overwhelming favorite to win Rookie of the Year. She remains the biggest star in all of American sports. On Swoopes' Queens of the Court podcast, Swoopes championed Angel Reese as the Rookie of the Year, stated that Clark's Indiana Fever would make the playoffs with or without her, and insinuated that a Fever role player was actually more valuable than Clark. Take a listen to this snippet.
I don't know if Chicago's in the playoffs right now without Angel. Right?
Yeah.
Is Indiana, excuse me, is Indiana in the playoffs right now without Caitlin? I don't
know. Last year,
no.
no.
Well, but they were close, right? But when you look at the overall team, like the pieces that they have, without question, Indiana has better players than Chicago from top to bottom. No doubt about it.
I don't know about that.
Okay.
I don't know about that.
Okay. Well, they had 3 All-Stars. Chicago had 1. But let's also remember Aaliyah Boston was Rookie of the Year last year.
Absolutely. And an All-Star.
Kelsey Mitchell has always been a bucket. Like, she can just flat out score the basketball. Okay. A player that we don't really talk about, and I think we should, because I thought she was playing exceptionally well before she got hurt. Fag Binley.
Yeah.
Then you got Nalissa Smith. And they brought in Katie Lou, who's a shooter. Like, if you go down the roster, player for player,
I feel that.
Like, look at Chicago. Kennedy Carter is can't nobody guard her. They just can't. But
after
else?
that.
Yeah, like, but who else?
Listen, Sheryl Swoopes' hatred of Caitlin Clark, it's rooted in racial idolatry. It's rooted in bigotry. Swoopes is using her racial jealousy and Clark's clout to elevate Sheryl Swoopes. It's textbook bigot behavior. Swoopes is masking feelings of inferiority with bigotry. The widely repeated trope that black people can't be racist because black people lack power is laughable. The truth is that many black people believe their bigotry is justified and acceptable given America's history. That's what the truth is. Sheryl Swoopes is very comfortable being bigoted because she thinks it's justified. 100 years ago, 50 years ago, 20 years ago, don't you know some girl in my 6th grade class called me a name? I have a right to hate them and be unfair to them. Sheryl Swoopes, like a lot of American women, like a lot of America, like all of secular America, they don't believe in forgiveness, a tenet of Christianity. Jesus forgave the very people who crucified him. My grandmother, a follower of Christ, forgave the people who attempted to lynch her father. Sheryl Swoopes can't forgive Caitlin Clark for being a white superstar in a league and sport dominated by black lesbians. Black women have abandoned traditional Christianity, and black men have followed them. Those are facts. Too many Americans, black and white, have replaced Christianity with what I call black girl tragic religion. They worship delusional, angry black women. You can see it in all walks of life. Let's go over to politics. Democrat presidential nominee Kamala Harris converted to the faith 40 years ago when she enrolled at Howard University, a historically black college, and joined the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. Ski-wee! Black sorority. Kamala eschewed her Indian and Jamaican heritage, her Canadian upbringing, to adopt a black identity. It's all lunacy, destroying the foundation of American ideals. The black girl tragic religion avoids common sense, fairness, and facts. It rationalizes illogic and rewards emotion. It twerks, gyrates, and ignores negative outcomes. It baits men into thinking and acting like women. It believes words are as damaging as sticks and stones. 60 years ago, politician Daniel Patrick Moynihan urged President Johnson and America to invest in empowering the black man and supporting the black nuclear family. Mainstream media and black elites framed the Moynihan report as racist. Lyndon Johnson pivoted to the Great Society and empowered the single black woman. These decisions undermine traditional Christian male leaders and produce this new religion, black girl tragic. It's a cult that rejects Jesus and will choose death over deprogramming. That's my fire starter. I'm going to elaborate. This is going to take some time, but I want to start with where I ended in terms of this is a cult that will choose death over deprogramming. I say that, and you've heard me mention this on the show before, and I hope those of you that watch the show regularly, I'm introducing new ideas while referring back to ideas I've expressed before on the show. There's a theme to this show, and I try to make sure that I'm connecting dots and familiarizing you with, again, the Moynihan report, and you've heard me talk about that. You've heard me mention Jim Jones, the cult leader, that convinced a group of predominantly black women to go off into the jungle in Guyana and kill themselves. I've mentioned that before, and this is why I'm saying where we're at in American society, where we've gone with this black girl tragic religion. They will choose death over deprogramming. And I know how cynical and how perhaps that sounds anti-Christian. Because I'm saying like, hey, there's a group of people that are so possessed, so transformed, so immersed in this satanic religion, black girl tragic, that they can't be saved because they would rather die than be deprogrammed. They would rather die than surrender the power that they have acquired through this black girl tragic religion. And I say that because I think there were like close to 500 people that went to Guyana, killed themselves, drank the Kool-Aid or were forced the Kool-Aid or followed Jim Jones, a cult leader, Jim Jones, who started out preaching Christianity and then transitioned into Marxism, transitioned into demonizing Christianity. We've seen this before. 68% of the people that followed Jim Jones to Guyana, black women. They killed themselves rather than leave that cult. They followed a heretic, a satanic heretic, into the jungle and killed themselves and killed their children. What has happened to the American black woman is sad and tragic, and to some degree, they have been victimized. But there are no victims if you have any understanding of Jesus Christ, if you've ever embraced the Christian religion. There are no victims. There are people that get fooled and go willingly to some place that will inevitably lead to their demise. And the power of what they've done, the danger of what they've done, is they've attracted others to adopt their religion out of fear. They're so threatening. They're so in your face. They're so loud. They're so delusional. They're so needy. And they've so weaponized you're racist, you're sexist, you're homophobic, you're this or that. They've so weaponized their ability to destroy your reputation that many white people have adopted the black girl tragic religion rather than face the consequences of what black women will do to them. This is, and there'll be people in the chat, there will be people leaving comments, there will be, oh man, you're making too much of this, you don't like black women, you don't, no, I actually love them and support them. I'm not gonna sit here and beat my chest about what I've done for black women, but the facts are the facts. I don't hate them. I'm scared of them at this point, like any rational person should be scared of them. They're in a cult, and they will choose death rather than be deprogrammed. They're looking at the results of their leadership and the decision-making that went on in the 1960s that said, let's eviscerate, let's emasculate, let's diminish the black man. Let's diminish these Christian black men who led us, walked us out of Jim Crow, and whether or not we like the deal that was cut, and I understand the complaints about the 1964 Civil Rights Act and some of the things that Dr. Martin Luther King and that group of people compelled, demanded, won. Not all of it was good, but it was male leadership that led to some progress. What are we getting from this matriarchal leadership we've had over the last 60 years? Our children, the metrics as it relates to economic growth, academic growth, incarceration rate, all of that, in the toilet. Their level of disrespect, their profanity, their love of pornography and anything debaucherous. Look at the culture that we take pride in. It's all a reflection of the matriarchy and men bowing to delusional women. And despite all those results, everybody's throwing a massive celebration that some Indian woman who's pretending to be black might be the president. You know, we need more matriarchy. We need more matriarchal leadership. And it's our obsession. And it's an obsession that has been handed to us, given to us, imposed on us by mainstream corporate media. And our obsession is with making history. Over our 2-week hiatus, I pointed out at the end of our hiatus that LeBron James was going to be the flag bearer for Team USA. And everybody was trumpeting this, NBC and all the social media platforms. Oh, LeBron James makes history. He's the first male black basketball player to be the flag bearer for Team USA. And I'm like, what? This is history? He's the first male basketball player who will be the flag bearer for Team USA. I'm like, how is this history? This is a distinction. This isn't history. This is a footnote. Flag bearers, we've had people light the torch from Rafer Alston to Muhammad Ali. This isn't history. But corporate media has spent the last 40, 50 years trumpeting the importance of making history, and everything is history. Oh, he's the second black person with a beard to win the Super Bowl MVP. He's the 14th black quarterback to ever start 10 consecutive games without an interception while dealing with his wife's camel toe. It's just incredible. They trumpet and push that everywhere. And we've fallen for it. It's like, what they've rigged our mind to is like, if you do something and it's the first time it's ever happened, it's progress, that's the goal, that's the end game, that's, oh my God, you've made history. And people selfishly want to participate in making history. That's how you get a president who smoked crack, who allegedly, according to accuser, used to get blowjobs from some white dude. Daddy is allegedly from Kenya, raised by his white grandparents in Hawaii, goes to a church of a heretic who preaches anti-American sentiment, but we couldn't resist. Oh, we're going to make history. Barack Obama's going to be the first black president. And that's important. Making history. If we could just get a black president, America will be so much better. Is it? In the aftermath of Barack Obama, is it better? He made history. And so now this whole history thing is being put on steroids because it's combined with what the feminists have promoted for the last 60 years. This thing called a glass ceiling. Oh, can you crack the glass ceiling? There's this invisible ceiling that says women can't do this. And any woman that cracks that ceiling, that's progress. No, it's not. There were roles, biblically assigned roles that were handed out that we used to try to adhere to. And it produced a better society and a better country than this world that is obsessed with cracking glass ceilings. And so we're looking at people right now, the chance to make history. We got the first Indian, Jamaican, Canadian-raised, Willie Brown pleasuring black woman to be president. We got to make this history. We got to crack this glass ceiling. This is incredible. And so we throw common sense and logic out the window. There's no standard here. Kamala Harris is on tape repeatedly exposing how limited she is intellectually, how little she actually knows and understands about the world. But we got to make her president. And for those of you that think, Jason Whitlock, he just hates Indian, Jamaican, Willie Brown pleasuring, pretend black women. And that's why he's critical of Kamala Harris. He'd never say this about a white woman. I trashed Sarah Palin for 3 or 4 straight years, relentlessly, because she was out of pocket. She was trying to play a role that I don't think she was fit for. She's the mayor of Wasilla and, got ahead with some good looks. And I wasn't down for it. And I trashed Sarah Palin for years. This isn't my preference for white women. This isn't my hatred of black women. This is me sitting here saying, what happened to Mama Lovey? What happened to Christian women? What happened to forgiveness? What happened to Christian values? How did we get here to where we have no respect for any of that? And this is how you end up fleeing Los Angeles, moving to Nashville, and say, how can I get to sanity, reality? How can I get to a place where I can examine and share my thoughts about what's going on in America in, for lack of a better description, a safe space? And as I continue to look, research, and try to understand how we got here, and this isn't, what I'm exposing today isn't the complete history, but it's a big part of it. Racial idolatry, the obsession with making history. Black women being empowered by the whole government institution through the Great Society Initiative, the corporate media and black elites saying, don't you dare let the United States government follow what Daniel Patrick Moynihan said. Don't you dare invest in black men. Don't you dare rehabilitate, support the black nuclear family. That was an intentional decision with the intent of having the consequences that we are experiencing today. I was at church a few weeks ago. Pastor Alan Jackson in Murfreesboro, and he preached a sermon where he made a analogy or made a reference to how quickly we forget and how we have to guard against losing skills and disconnecting and normalizing things that are making things that we took for granted abnormal. And he made an analogy of that, like, and I think Pastor Jackson's early 60s, he made an analogy like, hey, you know, my mother, or maybe he said it was his grandmother, mother or grandmother, he said, you could hand her a chicken, a live chicken, or one that's had his neck broken, is dead, and he handed it to her, and he goes, an hour later, you'd have fried chicken. Because, you know, everybody back then knew how to skin a chicken, do all that stuff and cook it up, blah, blah, blah. And he said, and here we are, just 60, 80, 90 years later, you hand most women a chicken, you hand most men a chicken. You ain't getting no fried chicken, not in no hour. They may take that chicken and drive it to KFC or Popeyes and ask somebody there, hey, could you make some fried chicken with this? But nobody at Popeyes or KFC would know what to do. And so a skill that was taken for granted and was normal, in just a short time, in 2 or 3 generations, poof, it's gone. And no one can do that anymore. And that's what's happened to our faith. That my grandmother, who was born in 1916, died in 2019. Is that, no, not 2019, 25 years ago, 1999. In 1999, this woman had a faith that transformed her, eradicated her bigotry, made her the greatest human being I've ever met, personally. Shook their hands. Obviously, I know there was a greater one. He's up in heaven, or he's Lord of all lords, King of kings. But for me, shaking hands and just like getting to talk to her on the phone, getting to stay at her, I've never met a better human being than my grandmother. And I could get a lot of people that would testify, you ain't lying. Mama Lovey was awesome. And we're not producing Mama Loveys anymore. And so born in 1916, let me do the math, I'm not that good. Is that 108 years ago? Is that right? 108 years ago? Yeah. 108 years ago. And now she would be abnormal. There used to be a lot of Mama Loveys. My father's mother, Augusta Combs, just keeping it real, she wasn't Mama Lovey, but holy cow, did she know the Bible forwards and backwards? That's all she wanted to talk about was Jesus Christ. That she wasn't Mama Lovey because she had a mean streak and some really terrible things happened to her that she couldn't happen personally to her, that she couldn't let go of. But again, there used to be many Mama Loveys, knockoff Mama Loveys everywhere. And now they're nowhere. And now we're dealing with this black girl tragic religion, that everything they're involved in is antithetical to Christianity. They think they're going to save the world. They think their leadership is going to correct the world. They think that they're the savior. They think that they don't need to submit to male authority, to follow male authority, to follow a man who's following Jesus Christ. They don't believe in that at all. And the worst part is they've tricked the rest of you, the rest of us, into adopting their religion or pandering to their religion. I'm going to pause here for a moment, honor and promote one of the sponsors that allow us to do this, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to bring Steve Deace into the conversation. Some things he talked about on his show. I'm going to give you an interpretation of what Steve Deace was getting at, or what maybe Steve Deace had a blind spot for, or maybe he was uncomfortable talking about. But everybody is bothered by the black girl tragic religion. I'm just going to attack it head on. So give me a second, and when I come back, I'm going to play you some clips from Steve Deace, and then I'm going to explain. Preborn, our great friends. It's the nation's leader in protecting the life of the unborn. By introducing babies to their mothers through ultrasound, a baby's chance at life more than doubles. That's why Preborn and their network of clinics offer free ultrasounds to women with unplanned pregnancies in the highest abortion areas in the country. Through their good work, Preborn rescues 200 babies every single day, and they don't stop there. They are a ministry of compassion, loving women and babies, offering assistance for up to 2 years after the child leaves the womb. If you consider yourself pro-life, it's time to help the good work of Preborn. One ultrasound is just $28. $140 helps to rescue 5 babies' lives. Every baby deserves a chance at life. Please donate your best gift today. Just dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, keyword baby, or donate the way that I prefer to give. That's preborn.com/fearless. Preborn.com/fearless. Guys, you know this is part of our mission here at Fearless to support Preborn, the greatest organization supporting our belief that life begins at conception, God's belief that life begins at conception. Preborn.com/fearless, pound 250, keyword baby. You clearly don't have black people's best interests in mind by allowing someone so harmful to come into our peace and risk harming us further.
Wheezy? Is that you?
With his statements, disgusting. This is so zesty. It's just, and I'm just like,
Somebody get him some water, please.
we used to be men, and now it's like, oh my God, this is so harmful to our inner peace.
Wait for it.
I don't.
Jason, you hit the
Hey, guys, spit it out, man.
you hit the nail right on the head. You know what I mean?
So let me pick up where I left off. Steve Deace. He did a fascinating show yesterday trying to point out the mistake, a mistake that he feels the Republican Party is making by focusing too much energy on pandering to get the black vote. And he tries to explain that, like, hey, look, they're not black people aren't a large enough percentage of the population. They don't matter as much as we think in these swing states. And Fox News and everybody that's painting this picture, what Trump's gonna get X percentage of the black vote and that's gonna swing the election and blah, blah, blah. And he's saying, hey, look, that's a dream. It's not accurate. I'll just play a 90-second, 2-minute excerpt from Steve Deace, let him explain, and then I'm gonna extrapolate.
Well, what I'm about to tell you is going to debunk virtually everything you've been told, including from much of your own media, about how elections work and how we need to win. Let's start here. And I'm going to go back 40 years of data here. This is Republicans in the black vote in the last 40 years. This is the percentage of the overall electorate that the black vote was, and the percent that voted Republican. 1984, it was 10% of the electorate. Republicans got 9%. In 2004, it was 11% of the electorate. Republicans got 11%. These numbers all look very similar.
Yes.
Regardless of what style of Republican. Are you following this trend line here? Okay. John McCain, it was 13%. Now that's Obama had historic black turnout. It was 13% of the electorate. 13. If you watch Fox News, they're going to make it seem like there's as many blacks that vote as Gen Z calling themselves LGBTQFU right now. They're like 40% of the vote. We had the highest turnout in American history of the black vote in 2008 with Obama. It was 13%. Now ask yourself if the level of obsession with this sector of the vote lines up with the all-time record is 13% of the electorate. If you looked at the balance, the content to turnout ratio that we produce, obsessing about this, do these numbers add up? What do you see there? What you see there are most of the states that have the highest black population. It's located in places that just aren't contested in the election. Only 3 out of 10 of those states would be considered battleground states. All kinds of states have barely any Hispanic and black voters. Every single one of them has white women and married people. We are commanded to love our neighbor as we love ourselves, after all. However, doing so via pandering, such as jailbreak, such as let's give up on the culture war and have a black, lesbian, bisexual porn star speak at the convention instead. That's not how this works. And you need serious issue contrasts. That does nothing but barely put a dent in the Democrats' minority vote stranglehold, barely a dent in it. But this obsession with these minority demographics have led us to some incredibly destructive policies like amnesties and jailbreaks, and garnered nothing in return electorally. Why? Because they're in defiance of the actual math, as I just proved to you.
So let me add this bit of context of where Steve started, because that's 90 seconds, 2 minutes of what was nearly a 20-minute conversation and point he was trying to make. And I shared that video on my Twitter feed, but I offered this disclaimer. But first, before I do that, Steve started out his conversation walking you through why he doesn't care if you call him racist, because he's not. And because his life experience, his lived experience proves it. His actions prove it. He's just telling you the raw facts and details, call him whatever name you want, but this guy is a believer, and his life experience, his actions demonstrate that he's not racist. He set it up that way. I know Steve. I believe Steve. He's got a great show. I think what he's stating there at the top is 1,000% factual. This is his interpretation. Where I think he's wrong is what the motivation is behind the pandering, behind the obsession with black votes. It's not about raw numbers. It's not about stealing votes from the Democrats of black voters, putting them in the Republican candidate basket, and those numbers are going to mean, hey, we're going to win the election. Well, what I believe the Republican strategy is, and I get it, is that they're trying to take the smear of being racist off the Republican brand so that, and Steve talked about this, we didn't play it in the clip, but so that white married women feel more comfortable pulling the Republican lever and not being accused of being a racist. This black girl tragic religion, this cult that is running around smearing anybody that doesn't bend the knee and worship them, it's having great effect and impact. And this whole strategy that the Democrats have executed for at least the last 60 years of, if you don't vote for us, you're either an Uncle Tom and a sellout or you're a racist Klansman. And so they've bullied. They've put a gun to everyone's head. We will smear your reputation if you don't vote for us. And many white people, I don't agree with them, but they're scared. And they realize the ramifications of like, okay, I have this job in corporate America. If the work structure or the employees that I have here, many of whom have been installed as DEI hires, if they turn on me and say, hey, that guy's a Trump supporter, he's a racist. And you know, he called me outside my name, or I heard him say the word boy, or I heard him listen to some rap song, and I think he might have mimicked the lyrics when they said the N-word. Everybody in the corporate America knows, hey, I have to conceal the fact that I'm a Republican and a conservative if I want to elevate in a leadership position inside my company. At the very least, I have to conceal. If I really want to move up, I have to embrace the alphabet mafia cult. When it's Pride Month, I got to help them turn it into Pride Year. When it's Pride Day, I have to say, oh, you know, this transgender person that you've installed as my boss, holy cow, they're the greatest. Oh, I mean, seeing him pull out his schlong in the bathroom, in the women's bathroom, that was awesome. You got to jump on board with all of it. And so this gun that they're holding to their head and how they use, like, Republican Party, it's all just white Christian evangelical men, they're all racist. And so what the Republicans are trying to, if we could elevate our minority vote among blacks and Hispanics to some number around 25% or 22% or 20%, we can then, hey, don't call us racist. Black people and Hispanics, people of color are with us too. Now the suburban white woman feels more comfortable voting her values. Because right now she votes out of hey, what makes my life, and a lot of white men, what makes my life simpler? Oh, all I got to do is once every 2 to 4 years go in here and pull this Democrat lever, and I've got a shield that says I'm not racist. Racist? I voted for Obama. I'm not racist. Yes. Do I want black women to abort their babies and use abortion as birth control? Yes, I do. But I'm not racist. I voted for Obama. Yes, I think black people should have less kids. And I damn sure don't want them living in my neighborhood. But I'm not racist. I voted for Obama. And we all go for it. And hey, you know what? That profane, pornographic music, black women are sluts, they're mean-spirited, I'm afraid to death of them. But you know what? I'm not racist. I voted for Obama. And you're damn sure right, I'm going to vote for Kamala. So what I'm saying and what Steve Deace is getting at, exposing, revealing, is that like people like Steve Deace are like, hey man, I'm a Christian. I really don't believe in these racial categories that they've established. And I'm ready to abandon the cult people. Yeah, he can't say this, and maybe he doesn't believe it, but this is my interpretation. He wants the Republican Party, and I think other people, other white guys and just rational people, because I'm right there with them. This entire discussion we're having today is just, as a believer, I'm ready to abandon the cult people. I'm ready to abandon the black girl tragic people. I can't perform the exorcism on them. I struggle enough just trying to deal with my own problems that to have time to run off and perform some exorcism on people that have adopted a cult mentality, who don't want to worship Jesus Christ, want to worship black women. I can't do it. I'm not built for that. It's not what God intended. And so it's just like the cult people, Godspeed, good luck to you. And Steve is saying, hey, let's don't waste any energy trying to convert the cult people, because he knows what I know. They would rather die than be deprogrammed. History, past behavior is the best indicator of future behavior, and that's why what went on with Jim Jones and that cult he led to Guyana, and you can say, oh, that's a small handful of black people, that's not everybody. And you're right. Back then it was a small group because the Black Girl Tragic cult religion hadn't taken complete and total control of America and black women at that time. But now they have. And so Steve is rightfully saying, like, Amber Rose, OnlyFans whore, influencer, not that smart. Hey, it's great that she is changing up and maybe has a different outlook on the world. But speaking at the Republican National Convention and being treated as if she's important and has something important to say, that's a bridge too far. She's an atheist, an unrepentant atheist. That's great that she's willing to vote for Trump. But if we continue to throw away our values and what we really stand for, to have this big tent, all we're doing is inviting the cult-like people into our tent, and the cult people are going to change our political party. We will be worshiping, because we already are, worshiping Black Girl Tragic and the matriarchy. And he's like, look at the ramifications of like Trump started just like releasing people from jail and prison, because we got to do outreach to the cult people. And the cult people have convinced everyone that the American judicial system, criminal justice system, is inherently unfair, systemically racist. And so we got to let killers and drug dealers and people doing life sentences, we got to let them out in order to make peace with the cult people and to get the cult people to like us and to get them to consider voting for us. And so Steve, who's a hardcore political person, he's like, look at what we're doing. We're playing their game. We got Kid Rock up here rapping. We got Amber Rose up here tatted across her forehead speaking. What does any of this have to do with substance? And this is what the Black Girl Tragic religion that was given to us by Marxists. It leads to this kind of chaos. It leads to this lack of substance. It leads to the chaos and the debauchery and degeneracy that is being platformed. And so we'll look across, we've surrendered the high road. And so when Kamala Harris, right now the queen bee of the Black Girl Tragic religion, when she says, hey, I want to throw a rally here in Atlanta, and I need a big crowd to compete with Trump. Let me bring Megan Thee Stallion in here to twerk. Let me bring Quavo in here. He's some gold chain wearing rapper whose partner was assassinated by some other black man in an argument, I think, over a dice game. I can't remember. I don't know the details. But Steve is like, look at what we're doing to politics and the important issues. We've invited the clowns in. Amber Rose, an OnlyFans whore, speaking at the Republican National Convention. This is amazing. And I don't get him, I don't blame him for being frustrated and at wit's end and to go on his show and say, you know what? Just forget him. Don't do it. Forget, they're in a cult. We don't need them. And the reason I don't blame him, I'm right there with him. And any rational person should be right there with him. We're all just different shades of the same skin tone. We're all image bearers of Christ. And if there's a group of image bearers that have decided, hey, you know what, I'm going to partner up with Satan, and I'm going to promote a different religion, the black girl tragic religion. Come out from among them. Separate yourself from them. God came with a sword. He came to set son against father, daughter against mother. And I understand the mentality. And so literally, it's a struggle for me every day to deal with people who are a part of this satanic matriarchal cult. And yes, I understand how they got there. I understand how they were manipulated. But the truths in the Bible are so self-evident, so easy to understand. I don't have sympathy for them. And so this whole egalitarianism that has swept the country and like, oh, if we just put women in charge, where's that in the Bible? It's not there. So I'm not with it. And the people that are with it, I'm going to pray for you, but that's it at this point. You're idiots. And oh my God, Donald Trump, he says so many terrible things, and he's a 34-time convicted felon. That's why I have to support Kamala. If it wasn't for the 34-time convicted felon, you know what you would do? You would return to pretending that George Bush was Adolf Hitler. You would pretend that Ron DeSantis is Adolf Hitler. You would just create the same set of lies about whoever it is or whoever your puppet masters told you to attack. And let's say they ran some black guy out there who espoused Christian values. You would attack him. He would be the black face of white supremacy. So Steve is justifiably frustrated and put together a video saying, hey, don't worry about him. We're going to have to worry about him, though. And I'm going to explain why next. The summer games are here, and there's no better way to show your support for America than with a delicious meal made from 100% American meat. GoodRanchers.com is the #1 place to get gold medal quality meat that supports real American farms and speaks to the excellence of the United States of America. And right now, you can go for the gold yourself by subscribing to Good Ranchers. They're giving all new subscribers a free gold medal add-on for the next 4 years. You can enjoy free plain chicken breast, Angus ground beef, applewood bacon, or wild-caught salmon in every order for the next 4 years or until the next summer games. Plus, with my exclusive code, you'll get an additional $25 off your first box. That's up to over $1,200 in savings when you subscribe. Use my promo code FEARLESS at checkout to claim $25 off your first box, free express shipping, and your free add-on for 4 years. If you needed any other reason to support Good Ranchers, they're not only amazing partners of this show, but they support the paralyzed veterans of America, too. Every order saves American farms and supports American veterans. If you're proud to be an American, then Good Ranchers is for you. Root for Team USA while enjoying the world's best meat that's born, raised, and made right here from local farms and ranches in the United States of America. Remember to use my promo code FEARLESS to claim this summer game special and save big while supporting American farms. GoodRanchers.com. American meat delivered. Welcome back to Beef. As I walk you through my top 50 media beefs of all time. Yeah, I'm an equal opportunity beefer. It's like, Randy, are you asleep at the wheel? Big lips are in style. I'd love to squash this beef. I mean, I was not real happy at all. I was less than thrilled. I was displeased. And now we have beef. So let me pick up why I said, like, hey, we're going to have to deal with this. This isn't just going to go away on its own. And I'm not even sure if that's what we want, because, again, the enemies of America, the people that are orchestrating this, the people that have brainwashed, created the cult, created this religion and these other offshoot religions, the alphabet mafia religions and all these other things. They know, go back to what I've told you about this show from its inception, what I've told you about the American journey and narrative. They realize the people plotting against America is like, hey man, black people pursuing Christianity, pursuing freedom, pursuing assimilation into America. And I'm talking about this is from the 1700s, 1800s, early 1900s, all the way to my grandmother, Mama Lovey. That is what transformed America and made America live up to its best ideas. And so this is why I'm like, the Black American journey in America is central to the success of America. And that's why they're using Black people and walking them away from Christianity to tear down America. None of this is on accident. We have been asleep. We don't understand our American history. We don't fully grasp how we got here. But the people that want to bring down America, they do. And that's why they devise this cult, this racial idolatry cult, and have used women to execute it. And so if Black people, pursuit of freedom, pursuit of assimilation, faith in Jesus Christ, if that's what powered and made America live up to its best ideas, well, let's take Christianity away from them. Let's make them say, hey, I don't want to be nothing. I don't want nothing to do with America. I don't want to assimilate. I want to do things all different. That's how you tear down America. And so at some point, we're all going to have to gather the balls, the energy, the fortitude to say, all right, you started a cult. You would rather die than leave the cult and surrender your power. We're going to stand up to you, and you're going to deal with the consequences of your horrendous decision making. We're going to completely deconstruct and eliminate all of these programs and set-asides that we've done to empower the Black girl tragic religion. All these set aside programs, all these scholarship dollars, again, there's a program for every young black girl in America. How can we help? How can we support you? How can we get you into college? None of it directed at black boys. All of that's got to be torn down. Because do you see these black women say, oh God, man, they done set aside all this stuff for us. We got to make sure we set aside some things for black men to empower them to blah, blah, blah. No, they're not doing that. They're acquiring power. They think they're in control, and they're demanding that you worship them. And I'm talking about you, the black man. You have to bow and cater to them, and we're doing it. I want to play you this clip of, this is stereotypical black church. I'm not saying it's all black churches, but 30, 40%, maybe 50% do this sort of preaching. Maybe not to this extreme, but this sort of preaching constantly. This is SOT number 3, where the preacher talks about black girl magic and his worship of Kamala Harris. Play the clip.
Is anybody else excited besides me about the historic campaign of Vice President Kamala Harris? Y'all, we have to get out to the polls and vote on Tuesday. Y'all not clapping good enough for me. There's a black woman in this country who is the presidential nominee for the Democratic National. Everybody ought to be clapping their hands. We are celebrating what God is doing in this season, and we want to be a part of what God is doing by helping to make sure that people are registered to vote. And I'm looking for some sisters in this sanctuary this morning who can testify like Sha'Carri Richardson that I'm not back, but I'm better. The enemy hit me with his best shot, and even though I had to go the long way, my testimony is I'm that girl. Where are the sisters in Beulah Baptist Church who can testify that I'm that girl? Where are the African American women around the sanctuary who can testify I am the living testimony of what it means to be black girl magic? I'm looking for some sisters in this room today who can testify that I ain't a snack because I'm the whole meal. I'm that girl. And if you can't shout over Sha'Carri Richardson, watch this. Would you at least shout over Kamala Harris because she's had to serve alongside a white man for the last 4 years, and some people thought that she was going to be overlooked to become president. But this morning, Beulah Baptist Church is able to celebrate that a black woman is going to be a candidate for the presidency of the United States of America.
They're not going to be deprogrammed. That male feminist would choose death than to get crossways with them women in his congregation that he's probably betting 1 or 2 at a time. He would choose death over telling those women, hey, you know, I'm a minister. Maybe I went to seminary school. I don't know. But the Bible's pretty clear about male leadership. He's not going to do that because that will cut off his access to those women sexually and financially. He's joined the black girl tragic cult, and he would rather die than be deprogrammed. The sex is too good. The money's too free-flowing, too easy. How much time do you think he spent working on that sermon? 10 minutes? 5 minutes? 30 seconds? It's a grift. It's a hustle. Keeps money, new suits, nice car, and plenty of access to desperate single women at his disposal. He's not going to surrender. He will not be deprogrammed. And so all of us, and it's going to be even more difficult for black men, and it's going to be difficult for white women, for black women, to say, hey, look, the cult people just can't deal with them, can't support them. Don't want my tax dollars going to create more of the cult people. I'm not going to pander to them just so I can have sex with them. I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to put it in God's hand. I'm going to pray for them people. But we got to make a different set of decisions here. And we have to be able to deal with the smears and the assaults on our character that will come along with it. Or this cult is going to destroy everything our ancestors built. Those are the facts. Donald Trump spent Wednesday dealing with the Black Girl Tragic cult that heads up and participates in the National Association of Black Journalists Convention. And from the best that I can tell, Donald Trump is in a similar mindset as me. He's gone to wartime mentality. I'm not going to play games with these people. I'm not going to pander to these people. I'm going to deal with them with the same force that they deliver me. Perhaps even harder. So they want to step in the ring. They want to fight with men. I'm going to unload. I want to thank one more of our sponsors. And when we come back, I want to share with you Donald Trump at the NABJ convention dealing with a Black Girl Tragic cult member. Hang with me.
It's my obligation, no hate, discrimination, raising up your hands for freedom.
I'm really excited about this new sponsor, Lassie Health. Americans are hurting. Healthcare costs are out of control, and we know insurance companies don't have the answer. But now, Lassie Health is here to shake things up. That's L-A-A-S-Y, Lassie Health. Lassie Health isn't health insurance. It's access to the health care you want without all the red tape, restrictions, and inflated costs. Coverage starts at just $30 a month. You get transparent pricing, comprehensive coverage, tailored to your needs, and access to healthcare services without breaking the bank. There are no annual or lifetime caps on services. You can start a plan anytime. For only $30 a month, you get over 400 prescription medications free. Free unlimited virtual mental health counseling. Free 24/7 virtual urgent care. Lab tests up to 60% off. Imaging tests up to 75% off. And over 50% off procedures and surgeries. You can even get plans with vision, dental, primary care, and comprehensive health share coverage. People are saving thousands on everything from MRI scans to ER visits, hospitalizations, and more. And get this, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and diabetes aren't considered pre-existing conditions as long as you haven't been hospitalized in the 12 months before you enroll. Lassie Health is a game changer. Check out affordable plans that put you in control of your health care at healthylink.com/fearless. That's healthylink.com/fearless. For a limited time, get your first month free. That's up to $100 off eligible plans. So get healthy, be healthy, and stay healthy without breaking the bank at healthylink.com/fearless. This is a great program for independent contractors, for small business owners, and for men or women just looking to reduce the cost of health care without paying an insurance company gobs and gobs of money. healthylink.com/fearless.
True. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabbit to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. I've done so much, and and I say this, historically black colleges and universities were out of money, they were stone cold broke, and I saved them, and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that, and let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense, and then you said you can't do it with Zoom. Well, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late. Just so we understand, I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working, or something was wrong.
Mr. President, I would love if you can answer the question on your rhetoric and why you believe that black voters should trust you with another 4 years.
I have been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President Johnson, who signed the Voting Rights Act?
And for you to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work in such a hostile manner, I think it's a disgrace.
That's dragon energy. And that's where we're all going to have to get comfortable. When you get hit with the idiocy, the disrespect, the hostility from these cult members, you have to be ready to fire back, to stand your ground. That woman is a lunatic and disrespectful. And I'm glad he called out every bit of it, including the tardiness, the lack of professionalism. Are we just going to hand the country over to people that think, hey, let's run on CP time and, being on time and being professional and being respectful, that's all white supremacy. And so I'm a black queen, and so if a former president, someone who's running for president, gives us his time, I get to treat him as disrespectfully as I can, because I have no interest in asking him a legitimate question. I have no interest in getting a legitimate response from him. I'm up there servicing and pleasuring myself and making sure I ask a question in a way that it will be popular over Twitter. These are cult members. Irrational, delusional, lying cult members. And if we're not willing to stand up to them, the entire American society and culture will further lean into their cult-like mentality and worldview. That's embarrassing what that woman did. You can ask the president tough questions, or a presidential nominee tough questions, in a respectful way. But she's playing a game and pandering to Twitter and social media and Facebook and Google and all the paid influencers and paid psyops who will now run around like, oh, Rachel Scott, she handled that so beautifully. She stood up to President Trump. She called him a racist. She said, oh, he said this and he said that. Joe Biden would show up for an interview and that woman would drop to her knees and say, Joe, what do you want from me? And if Kamala Harris showed up, she'd be like, Kamala, call up Willie Brown and let's have a three-way. Those are the facts. It's a cult. They'd rather die than be deprogrammed. They're destroying this country. I feel sorry for them. I know what happened to them. I know they've been manipulated and lied to. But that's what happens to cult members. And at some point, you're just like, well, they're not coming up out of this cult. There's nothing I can do. And that's what Steve Deace is talking about. And I get it. Because corporate media is in on it. The links they're going to try to convince you that Kamala Harris and this group of idiots are, oh God, I saw something where someone said there's a vibe to Kamala Harris and, oh, this feels like Obama all over again because she had all these people at her rally in Atlanta. We won't play the sound, but just Megan Thee Stallion, who, in my opinion, is a transgender. I'm just sorry. She's a trans. What woman calls herself the Stallion? Stallion's a male horse. Who does that? Unless you're transgender. And she pornographic, an idiot, twerks. This is what we've turned presidential politics into. Megan Thee Stallion and a bunch of women twerking and singing profane pornographic songs. And then everybody say, oh God, look at the turnout. There's all this excitement about Kamala Harris. A bunch of young people came to hear, see Megan Thee Stallion do her little porn dance and porn songs. And then I want to play the clip of this idiot Quavo. Shows up in a blouse with gold chains everywhere and pretending like he knows that he's some sort of gun violence or gun control advocate. His music, hip hop music, promotes the shooting and killing of black men. But now Quavo is anti-guns, and oh my God, he can't wait to work with Kamala Harris. A rapper wearing a blouse and gold chains whose music promotes debauchery, drug use, killing. He's at this campaign rally in Atlanta and like, oh God, look at all the energy. Boy, look at all these young people that are in support of Kamala Harris because Megan Thee Stallion and Quavo or Quave or whatever the hell his name is. Play the clip of Quavo, Quave, whatever. Play the clip.
You can't understand the struggles of gun violence if you're not in the field or in the heart of it. So one thing I learned about working with Vice President Harris is she always stand on business.
That's Gavo. What's the name of the group? Gavo. Gavo. He's wearing a blouse. He's out of the closet, Luke. I hear you. He's trying to tell us something. Gavo. What's the name of the group? Future, or what was the name of their group? Migos. Yeah, Migos. He's part of that Diddy cult. That's why he came wearing a blouse. This is what we've turned politics into. These are the people leading our constitutional republic / democracy. These aren't serious people. They're not serious. And they're satanic. And I would love to pray it out of them. But they're not giving up because they're winning. They're getting too much control. I can see a path where, I mean, when Kamala first ran, or first, when Joe Biden stepped aside a week, 2 weeks ago, whenever, I was like, oh, she'll get blasted. But I'm like looking at this thing they're rigging up. These fake rallies and rappers and paid attendees and all of the news media, all the corporate news media. Oh my God, look at all this excitement around Kamala Harris, and millions of dollars are pouring in, and we're holding this Zoom and that Zoom and white dudes for Kamala. It's all orchestrated, it's all rigged. So they can come in and tell us, like when they count these mail-in ballots and Kamala gets 90 million votes, told you, did you see the crowd she had? Did you see all the money she got donated? People love Kamala Harris. She's part of the cult, and she's an idiot. And we've seen this before. We've seen uncovered black women join a cult. And by uncovered, I mean unmarried. No male leadership in their home. Took it upon themselves to be their own leaders. We saw them run off into the jungle with some cult leader and kill themselves and kill their children. And so that was just the test run. What happened with Jim Jones? And it's no different than, if you've heard me mention, what was it called? Wild Wild Country. That documentary about what went on in Oregon in the 70s. And that little Indian sexual cult that tried to take over Oregon and started importing homeless people to change the voting demographics. They started importing homeless people and drug dealers to change the voting demographics. It's still available on Netflix. It's one of the best documentaries I've ever read or ever watched. Watch it. And then you'll understand what they're doing with illegal immigration. They've done it before. They've done these test runs before in the 60s and 70s. I just finished rereading the Chaos book about Charles Manson and Helter Skelter and how the CIA fed Charles Manson drugs and the whole hippie movement and how that was all orchestrated and how they were using drugs as mind control tools and how they taught or someone assisted Charles Manson in how to brainwash, pimp out, manipulate, and control young women and get them to commit crimes on demand. That was all CIA enhanced assisted. It was a test. Read the book Chaos. Just reread it again. They're doing it again, man. And we have to get where Donald Trump is, or we're all going to be answering, all of us, and we already are to some degree, we're all going to be answering to the black girl tragic cult members. Trump, hats off to you for showing up at that NABJ convention. Hats off to you really for standing up to that whack job. Hats off to you for manning up, and we all have to get there. We all have to deal with the repercussions. Because I want to transition, play my, because I'm going to try to wrap up my thoughts here. Play my Justice for TT open, and we'll end on this note. So there's a woman named, is it Karen Aitisha? Why can't I think of her name? Is it Karen? Am I right? Did I get that right, Karen? Yeah, I think it's Karen. She resigned her position as on the NABJ convention over Trump getting invited. Yeah. Karen Attiah. I have decided to step down as co-chair from this year's NABJ 24 convention in Chicago. To the journalists interviewing Trump, I wish them the best of luck. For everyone else, I'm looking forward to meeting and reconnecting with all of you in the Windy City, NABJ. While my decision was influenced by a variety of factors, I was not involved or consulted in any way with the decision to platform Trump in such a format. Oh, could we give Karen justice? Oh my God. Donald Trump was going to be in the same building as her, and people were going to interview him. Oh, this is so harmful and traumatic and dangerous for Black people. Oh, could we just get TT some justice? She had to resign her position in a bold stance to stand up to that dangerous, terrible Donald Trump. Y'all keep trying to make peace with TT. Y'all keep trying to placate TT. It's never enough. They will not be satisfied until you bend your knee and you worship them. I'm not going to do it in any way. I'm upset about it. I'm mad about it. I wish I had, to some degree, I take this back, but it's just like, I wish I had never known my grandmother. If I had been born in the 90s or 2000s and didn't know how things used to be, I wouldn't be so angry. But those of us that know how things used to be, it's like, holy cow, how did we get here? And so they're waiting on me and my generation to just die off or become so weak that and harmless, there's nothing we can do about it, because y'all don't know. The young people don't know. They have no experience. It's no different than what Alan Jackson was talking about. It was like, hey, my grandmother could be handed a chicken, a live one, or one that's had his neck wrung, and an hour later, we'd have some of the best fried chicken you've ever eaten. And now you hand someone a chicken, and they'd run away scared. They have no idea what to do with it. We've lost that skill. And we're losing the women that nurtured, developed, supported the helpmeets to men who were following God. We've lost that. I don't know if it'll ever return. That's what they're counting on, that it'll never return. Last thing I want to, just as an indication of the delusion that we're platforming, catering to, pandering to, what's this woman's name? Kimberly Crenshaw, perhaps? Yeah, Kimberly Crenshaw. She's a professor at Columbia Law and UCLA Law. She's a cult member. She's delusional. She's an idiot. She tweeted out, Black women make up less than 10% of the population, yet when it comes to killings by police, we make up a third of them, with the majority unarmed. And that's exactly what happened with Sonia Massey. Say her name, CRT Summer School. This woman's 65 and so immersed in this academia and delusion and Black girl tragic, she can't even understand simple math, simple facts. I think I saw somewhere where the police end up shooting, maybe killing people, 9,000 people since 2015, since the Washington Post started tracking this. And less than 1% of them have been Black women. Less than 1% of 9,000 since 2015. And this professor at two relatively respected law schools thinks 33% of them are black women. And so this delusion, and again, this is why I call it a religion, because you have to accept things on faith, and you have to believe things your eyes haven't seen. That's why I know this is a religion, because there's zero proof. She's arguing 33%. It's actually less than 1%, but she believes it even though her eyes haven't seen it. And people have been promoting it, whether it relates to Sonia Massey or whether it relates to George Floyd. Oh my God, a black man can't even go outside without getting killed by police. The facts and the data say that's a total lie and garbage. The only people that get primarily killed by police, most of the time, 99.9% of the time, are career stupid criminals high on drugs who resist arrest. Everybody else, cop may talk crazy to them, may not be the greatest experience, but they ain't shooting, they ain't killing you. Facts say that. But we live in such a delusional state, we live in such a satanic, lying, deceptive state of mind that we will pretend like, oh God, did you hear about that young college honor roll student that got a parking ticket and got killed? Yeah, it was terrible. Black guy, Leroy. We'll pretend like that's commonplace. It's a cult. It's cult behavior. Black Girl Tragic wants to destroy Caitlin Clark, Donald Trump, and America. We have to stand up to it. Play tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow.
Waiting for the countdown, coming off the breakdown, standing in line for freedom. Looking for a breakout, feeling like a standoff, nothing in life like freedom. Came in like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all these moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on a corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, all deceiving. We all wanna be free.